It's the Redirect Podcast, search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to another edition of the Redirect Podcast. This is episode 14, and it's Friday, September 1st, 2017, the first of the month. I'm Jason Dodge, and I'm welcomed once again by Patrick and Ashley from the Black Truck team. Welcome, team. We made it through one more month of algorithms and search queries. So here we are. I think Ashley's going to go ahead and kind of take the lead off here and share some things after we actually took last week off. So we're kind of regrouping here. There was some vacations and travel and things like that. So in the height of the summer here in Michigan. So Ashley, go ahead and jump right in.
All right. Well, I'm hoping that this isn't something that Patrick was planning to talk about, because I know that you are really into the voice search thing. So I chose an article from the Moz blog on it's a voice strategy guide. Am I?
No, you're safe.
I'm good so far. All right.
Yeah.
So I know that we talk a lot about voice search, but it's because that's the direction that things are heading. So and are currently happening in that sphere. So this is an article from Simon Penson, who founded Zazzle Media in the UK, and it's a pretty lengthy post. Some stuff that we've been talking about, but there were a few points from there that really jumped out to me. So we know that the key players in voice search are Microsoft Cortana, Amazon Alexa, the Google Assistant, Siri from Apple, and then coming soon is Samsung's personal assistant, Bixby, apparently, for all of Samsung devices.
Bixby.
And then Facebook Assistant, which has no name yet. So anyway, he points out that apparently Bing is on point to steal a chunk of market share from Google. And he argues it's currently the key search engine to optimize for if voice visibility is your objective.
What's his backing of that?
His backing is that Cortana, Siri, and Alexa default to Bing for general information retrieval by voice. So that jumped out to me because, you know, we don't talk a lot about Bing because Google does have the market share. Yeah. So I thought that was something to pay attention to and maybe look into a little further. And and we can talk about that too, but another point that stuck out to me was that he argued that voice is an additional interface and it won't replace those that have come before. So it's not like search is going to make typed searches obsolete.
Oh, yeah,
So,
no way.
So I think
agree.
a lot of people can take these kinds of conversations and think, oh my gosh, it's all voice, and, you know, what we're doing isn't going to matter a couple years down the road or whatever, but it's not the case. I mean, for instance, he points out that print, radio, and TV are still around, even though, you know, online is obviously,
right.
The more recent interface
Right.
or whatever. So, anyway.
Well, I mean, the Jetsons, you know, they offered us up the idea that we were going to have flying cars too.
Okay,
and that
so-
never happened. So, but I think not to take too far away where you're going to go with the Jetsons. But I think he makes a good point too in this article too. I'm pulling it up as you talk about it, but Google even makes a claim that they have more than 20% of all searches are led by voice, right? And they're thinking that will reach by 50% in 2020.
Yep.
Okay, so to break that down even further, so break the 20% down even more. So if Google dominates, let's say conservatively 85% of searches, over 50%, closer to 60% of those are mobile. Mm-hmm. So then Google is saying 20% of all searches are voice-led, aka maybe mobile, because there's other default devices in there.
Right.
So just to kind of put that into consideration, where those voice-led searches are coming from. I'm not going to sit here and talk to my MacBook and Chrome and ask it to do a search. But if we had a home device, another one outside of the various devices that we have in this office, then maybe. But at the same time, I see its place, but also the replacement of a keyword search. I mean, if you're trying to be quiet, it's middle of the night or something like that. I mean, let's start analyzing the number of queries that are done in the bathroom.
Right. I think it's too much of it in its infancy still. You think back to the days of the Jetsons or the Popular Mechanics, Popular Science magazines in the 40s and 50s when the smart kitchens were a thing and self-cooking meals and all that stuff.
Hovercrafts out of a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, just because the technology might be there doesn't mean we need that technology or we're going to use it or it's going to make us better.
So hypothetically, and we're going way probably off track, but I think it's an interesting discussion, is what do you think, outside of search, what do each of you think that the direction that just voice interaction with devices in general is headed? Like, where do you think it has its place in either device, whether it's connected devices, IoT, or actual just in search in general?
Something that caught my eye this week, I believe it was about the Google Home Assistant. It's now integrating with other appliances. I think it mentioned GE. It was going to integrate with GE, but the subheading was, "Okay, Google, vacuum the floor." And I thought of the Roomba. I don't know if that was what it was associated with, because I don't know if GE makes an automated vacuum like that. But if you could tell your home assistant to vacuum the floor and the closet opens and the little Roomba vacuum comes out and does your floor, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of Jetsons. So that was my Jetsons light bulb when you.
There's a great one in here from the Android Central blog. I just looked it up while you were saying that because I wanted to know. I asked legitimately what devices are in, what's integrating with Google Home. There's a lot. There's actually a lot of things that are fun too, like that I actually would maybe take advantage of. So maybe we'll share this link too. It's everything from the obvious Chromecast and Nest, right, owned by Alphabet. To things such as very smart lights, iHome controls, smart locks, Honeywell, Hive Home automation, to then services that are supported, which are very much more entertainment oriented.
So an arm isn't going to come out of my bathroom mirror and brush my teeth for me?
I mean, it could, but I don't know if
Someday.
that's going to happen in our lifetime.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
it's really good fun.
Really good article. Lots of info in there, and it's interesting because he is actually planning to build a voice team at his agency with different roles to kind of optimize for voice. So while the sky isn't falling, he makes a point of how a lot of marketers have no plans whatsoever to optimize for voice or go in that direction, and so I just think it's a useful read.
Well, it is, and not to have voice overshadow as you don't want to latch on this. I think the good reminder is from an action steps is like just like any algorithm changes, just like anything that changes with technology and Marcom, is like don't jump to conclusions. Don't immediately jump on the bandwagon of the flavor of the day or flavor of the week and put all your eggs in one basket. I think you need to be aware of these things, which is why we're talking about it internally and on this podcast, and why individuals are blogging about it. But be conscious of it. Maybe think about more, again, natural language. Stop being so spammy. But then really get to the core of why or what are we using voice search for. I think he does a good job of breaking that down in here and having a really good understanding of what voice search is being used for. So that's my take on it. Pat?
I found an article on Search Engine Journal published yesterday by someone with the same name as me, but his first name, you can spell the two T's.
Wait, Garrett Patrick?
No, not quite that same. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Merguth. Garrett Mergith? Okay, so
Sorry, Garrett.
The article is Leads Over Rankings, Shifting Your SEO Goal. And it basically is asking the question, do rankings still matter? And the answer is yes and no. So the biggest thing it's saying when you're maybe not necessarily for agencies like us, but when you're a business wanting to look into your SEO, what you want to do, you need to stop asking the question, I want to rank number one, or make the statement, I want to rank number one. It's more of what are my conversion points? You know, what do you want to do? You want to create leads. You want to generate leads and or return on your revenue. You know, it's a more of an SO or a ROI kind of a thing than a ranking type of deal. And that's not just on the PPC side. It's the organic side of it too. If we're going to dump a ton of money into the organic side, we have to track that, and it's not necessarily being ranked number one, because if you can do a lot of things to trick the machines and get yourself up there, but then what are you getting sent to your site? You're getting the wrong traffic.
Is it quality traffic, the right traffic?
Yeah.
There might be themes built around that, whatever that seed or core keyword is, that help kind of the rising tides, help that all come up.
Right.
That then generates more leads or conversions, whatever your goal is.
Right. Yeah. So quote I took out of here at the end. The end result, though, is that you often drive more leads and sales without ranking in the first position for less money and time spent. So it's if you do all the things that we often tout in this office, I think we have a really fine point in our office to make sure we're doing things for the human side. And not to say that we're doing it right, but I feel like we talk more about the human side than the algorithm side. That we very rarely have conversations about algorithms in this office, and I think this article kind of puts a title in an organization to a conversation that we haven't formulated in this office. We have the conversation every day, but it's not necessarily something that we put a headline on, because we don't really need to. It's just the way we operate. And I'm not trying to toot our horn, but I think it's just part of the way things should be operated. Then it dropped through and put a couple of pointers on how to go about doing that, and not necessarily focusing on ranking rather than getting conversions. And it's easier said than done. It's 3 points. First one was improve your click-through rate, your CTR, and that's through testing. Utilize PPC to do the test if you have PPC going, and then mimic that same type of result on the organic side of it. Second one was write a better headline, and it almost was encouraging clickbait titles, and I was a little disappointed about that, but maybe not so you'll never believe what happened next kind of titles. More along the lines of
I don't click on those anymore.
I don't think I ever did, but it was. He even said that if it makes you feel like we're talking clickbait, you're falling short of your purpose in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not writing clickbait titles. We're writing titles that reach the viewer, that make them they can't resist clicking on it in the form, like not a you'll never believe type of way.
Oh yeah.
A third one was don't put your call to action on the landing page in a dead zone, like below the fold, or the article states that the eye in the average reading pattern follows the pattern of the letter F, a capital F. So you read across, you come back, and then go down, and then you come back across again. And it didn't necessarily say the exact specific place you should put your call to action.
Well, no, and you can't. I mean, because really the whole theory of below the fold, really, I don't know as if we should even be discussing that in 2017 moving into 2018, because of the mobile environment, that the fold is defined much differently than the fold on a desktop site. So, we are thumbing through or scrolling through content much, much faster on a mobile device because we have to. So, So I would say we want to watch that.
So the dead zone maybe is more of eye-catching if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
Make sure it's seen and not hidden and stands out at some point, because that is your conversion. That's what you're putting the money into, is to get that call to action. Your call to action is your conversion point.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point. I think the to circle back on the touch point you made too on PPC, using PPC in testing. So what we're referring to is utilizing AdWords or Bing and do testing to see what type of ad copy works. So what type of headlines working, what kind of descriptions are working, matched up to the keywords you're bidding on. That's great, and applying that to more organic side in meta page descriptions, possibly title tweaking, but we want to watch that. The thing that I will add to that too is I think that looking at that search queries tab in AdWords, even if you have basic knowledge of AdWords, you should be able to know how to navigate it. Then at the campaign ad group level, you should be able to look at the actual keywords that people are searching for, and this goes back to, are we focused on rank or are we focusing on conversions? And looking at the actual keywords in there that are driving traffic, that are driving conversions, and then circling back and asking ourselves, do we have content that actually supports that query? And then how do we, I hate to say it, how do we perform, not by rank, maybe by rank, but how do we perform in search for that query? Do we even have content that supports that query that is converting? Because if we're paying for that traffic and driving traffic there, and we don't even have a page that supports those themes, you're never going to be, rank is irrelevant at that point. And that conversation, because you're not meeting the intent of the searcher, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I think that's a really, really great point that you picked up on, Pat, was using PPC to test this, also getting people to understand kind of twofold. Don't focus as much on rank, which we've always kind of preached, which is a difficult sell. But at the same time, maybe investing some ad dollars, especially in competitive landscapes, to really understand what's going on there. No paid keyword tool in the world is going to be able to produce the actual results. So, I think it's really, I think those are really good points you make.
And then as far as the call to action, like where that should be on the page, even though I know you said the article didn't say any like perfect place to put that, I know I've been seeing it more as I'm reading some articles online that they'll have the call to action at the top or like right after the first paragraph in addition to the bottom. Yeah. So
multiple points, right?
Yep. So you catch people no matter where they end up scrolling to on the page. Nice.
Are you good? Can I take over? I'm going to take over. I don't want to. So this kind of comes from two different places. I've started to get in the habit a little bit more of trying to tune in. If I can't tune in live, I'll kind of come back and loop through and listen to the Google Webmaster Central. They hold what they call office hours, their hangouts. So typically that's a lot of times John Mueller from Google is hosting those. And there's a lot of industry professionals that either tune in, chime in, engage in that conversation. And I know that Jennifer Slaggett, the SEM Post, the SEM Post, covered some things on the 25th of August. This is in relation to the Webmaster Central office hours that happened on the 22nd. But the question comes around regarding whether or not Google actually takes into account how a page or website performs based on how the navigation is structured. Or the style, is it simple navigation? Is it a mega menu? Or, does it have just an obscene number of flyouts and things like that? And John Mueller from Google says that really no, that navigation, he hasn't seen it in his career at Google, that it does not affect the way that they perceive sites. But he also goes to touch on too that like having a solid URL structure and the importance of that. So it was kind of interesting to hear him just kind of disclose quickly, navigationally, meh, but URL structure, you really still that's core, right? We want to take care of that stuff. So I think the big takeaway there is that if you have a mega menu or you have a site of particular size and scale, that like having that is not going to penalize you in any regard, but my question, and I guess my challenge is with that is like, are we actually taking into account how the user might actually be interacting with the site, right? I would think, again, back to larger sites where the more traditional product services type structure does not apply, but I'd recommend that the navigation be really clear and concise, and you have to ask yourself that, go to your site, is it clear? And better yet, ask other people to go there. So do some user testing, so use something like usertesting.com, or get a few people in the room and just ask them to take certain steps and go try and find X page and see if they can get there. And I think the concept of Don't Make Me Think, going back to the book that was published in like late 99, early 2000s, still applies is this day and age than ever before, is that, we have this extreme limited opportunity to capture your attention as a user. So why are you making this any more friggin' difficult than it has to be? So regardless of SEO, again, going back to the human-centered approach maybe that Pat had touched on before, in your design, why that potentially could mean a lot to the way that you do perform in search moving forward. So I think it's something to think about there. But I don't know if you guys have any feedback on that. I mean, I'd love to think that that's a proper way to go. But it's just my opinion.
And just to clarify, as far as URL structure, you're talking about like the hierarchy, like the parent-child.
Yeah, I mean hierarchy or clean. No miscellaneous characters, funky hash bangs, things of that nature. I think would be, let's not bury everything in an index and expect it to, just be performing phenomenally. So obviously having the clean URL structure is ideal, and you should be paying attention to that. Navigationally.
I think more people should study up on canonical tags too.
Well, there is that too.
Canonical
right?
should be as well known as a 301 redirect should be.
Right. And there's a lot of confusion behind those, and when should we use it and when should we not, and hopefully that's where we can step in and help educate. Right. But I would definitely push you into thinking about doing some user testing, and because could you imagine like a massive mega menu in a mobile environment?
They open up and you can't figure out how to close them sometimes, and yeah.
Well, I think this might be a little obvious or simplistic, but when you just mentioned having somebody go to your website, it may be as simple of user testing as just asking some friends and family that maybe haven't visited your website, can you go through and tell me like where you run into snags or like where your attention went? I mean, there's a lot of tools out there that you can use, but if you can use the people around you, that could be a
for sure
cost-effective way to do it.
Yeah, and even usertesting.com, I think you can get your foot in the door, $50 or $100 to get some pretty reasonable responses back, and you can totally lay out the type of user and stuff you want to be using that, and go as far as why not back the funnel up and say go as far as maybe have them search for something that you rank for. And watch that funnel, right? Watch them do the search, watch them click on your site, go there, and then try and navigate the rest of the site to even get that reaction of, I don't even know what the hell you do, or to be able to interact. So it's clearly beyond the discussion of menus and navigation, but end of the day, no, navigation doesn't, what John is saying is it doesn't affect the way that they perceive a site, but I think from a usability perspective, you would see that in, soft bounces and, time on site, page depth, that type of thing. Yeah. I don't know. So that's my opinion on the matter. But anybody have anything else to share? Moving forward, I think we're going to try and welcome a couple guests coming up. But Patrick, did you have one more thing?
I was just going to say I'm going to a cottage this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Are you going to be completely disconnected, or are you going to study up more on voice search?
I'll probably be connected of some sort.
Excellent. We have to soak up as much as we can of Michigan summers before winter settles in. So, awesome. Well, that wraps up the 14th episode of the Redirect Podcast. We thank you for listening and look forward to sharing with you again next week. Take care.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.